they will always have the trust, the passion to pursue their dreams. But again, one of the most important hurdle which everybody faces is how to raise money, where to look for money. So I guess that time they would come to Anantha to ask about, hey Anantha, what should I do? I have very fantastic idea, but I do not have a money. How can you help me to take care of those? Uh, is it okay to raise money? Is it okay to ask for a loan from a bank to start my company? How do you go about it, Anantha?
So basically, just to give you an example, Zerodha is the biggest inspiration one can draw in saying that you don't always need to raise funds to be successful. In the recent interviews also you would have noticed that he said that I have people willing to write a check for me even today, but I don't want money. So that's the whole idea which the founder needs to have, whether he wants to raise funds, be successful, whether he doesn't want to raise funds, be successful. It's their point and their ideology which they have to follow. There is no right or wrong in it, whether you can take an e-mudra loan, whether you can raise funds from the biggest VCs, the smallest angel investors. There's no right or wrong. It's all about your approach. What do you want to do? Whether you want to be the founder of the company holding 90% shares, or whether you want to be the biggest founder of the company holding 8%, 10% of the shares. So it's your ideology which is always determined whether you want to raise funds, borrow funds, use your own money, like what Shesh said. So there is no right or wrong way to it. There is no right or wrong way to put saying that my idea is worth 5 million pre-valuation, 10 million pre-valuation. But valuations are not determined on piece of paper. It's always determined in a boardroom, according to me. So how good you are at the boardroom determines the company's
Okay.
valuation. I think so. Shesh will completely agree to you on this.
I mean, so Shesh, what Anantha is saying is valuations are always determined in the boardroom or basically in a closed room.
Yeah, I mean, I think valuation is at least in initial. I mean, it has always been ability to raise capital, right? It works reverse quite
Right.
often. If you're able to raise 100 million, you can't have a pre-money valuation of 10 million, right? So I think it function of both, and I think I've learned that it's an art and also certain experience kind of. Now that I have the experience, I can tell people what valuation they should have. It's basically based on multiple factors, right? Like what is the money they need, what is it that they may be able to raise at this stage, what is it that they can really price it, and what is the dilution they need to achieve.
Right.
And ultimately DCF has to kind of also kind of justify, right, discounted cash flow. So I think multiple factors are there, of course.
Yeah. So when the topic of valuation comes, a lot of people also believe very strongly, saying that if a VC is coming on board, or so basically, if somebody is coming on board with a huge check, then people end up diluting their shares. Most often, the founders keep on diluting their shares to raise the valuation. Should they be doing that?
Yeah,
Just to
who
have
is
some names on board, should the founders be diluting their own shares?
okay? Is this for me, the question?
Yeah, I mean, it can go for both of you, Anantha and Shesh. One after another,
uh,
you can answer if you want. Yeah.
okay, Anantha, you would want to go first?
So basically, it's detrimental on the factor of how soon do you want to grow or how later you want to grow. Sometimes the name itself is going to give you that entire boost so that you reach where you want to reach at 10x speed versus what you do. So it's a choice again whether you want to raise funds from a biggest VC so that you have the cover page article on your story or anything versus whether you want to do it at angel investors to ensure that you've raised funds but nobody even knows that you've raised funds. So it's a path which the founder has to
Right.
think what they want to do. That's what my opinion always is.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Anantha. And see, my view, I would say more based on experience of what I'm seeing people doing and what I have done. So when I say seeing means people, most likely the audience is a lot of people in India, founders, etc., or would be founders. So either you're optimizing, see, if you're raising money, you're optimizing for growth. If you are kind of going more conservative, you're optimizing to keep more stake for yourself and more control for yourself, right? Where do you want to optimize? I think Zerodha is one example where they didn't have to really, they kept control, and that's amazing. They have more stake, and I think if you look at the list, they are the wealthiest among everybody. More wealthy than
Yeah.
Jay Shekhar Sharma, etc. Personally speaking, but I would say that is a rather an exception. I would suggest people not to aim for it. I have seen people fail more by raising less than, by raising more, honestly. In my view, it is okay to dilute, because I think the current reality of the market is that there is a lot of capital in the market, right? Say compared to say 90s, or etc. The philosophy of building a company has changed. Now what happens is that since the resources are different, right? Now you will definitely have competitors with a lot of capital. Now in 90s you would have had competitors who are like hey, they also didn't have capital, right? Now that you have, now you need to realize, right? So if you can't go with with a handgun if the other guy is coming up with bigger guns, right? So one, it's important to understand that competitors will raise money, capital is plenty, so one has to raise capital and also fail fast, right? A lot of people trying to bootstrapping, typically I would never recommend. I've seen a lot of people spend a year or two trying to just bootstrap and waste their time, and then they realize they're not going anywhere. You'd rather, what I would advise people is, hey, you know what, just go all out. In fact, I tell people, you should be like 2 or 3 co-founders, one of them is only raising money, so raise money. Now, let's say you raise money, you did something and you're successful, next company you want to raise less, put your own money, etc. It's a different story if you have enough capital, right? Even Zerodha, by the way, the example is that, I was speaking with Nitin. He basically made a lot of money in 2008 crash. He had capital, right? Now how many really had capital? He had money that he used. He didn't borrow is a different matter, but he had money, right? At the end of the day, how many have that money to, like, do you have money to put 1 crore into your business and get going is the question. Many people know they'll put 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, and they're trying to do something. They will spend 1 year, 2 year. And, for me, that's, you're really like, very likely not going to click if you do that. You'd rather raise something and give a fair chance to your business. That's my view.